I've arrived in Andrew, Alberta, home of the world's largest mallard duck. My name is Andrew Evans, and I'm National Geographic's digital nomad. I travel the world, and I share my adventures online in real time. This week I'm on assignment in the great Canadian province of Alberta, a place renowned for big nature, big landscapes, big energy, and big cities. Welcome to Calgary. We are in the biggest city in Alberta. I just landed, got in my rental car, and now I am navigating the wide open western streets, the very wide streets of Calgary. I spent my first few hours just wandering around and talking to people. That's how I really get to know a place. Awesome.
60
Canadian money. Hello. It smells good in here. Thank you. I will treasure this. I appreciate it.
I hope you do. It
Thank
freezes
you.
well.
It's pardon?
It freezes well.
It freezes well. Great, because I'm traveling with a freezer. Thank you so much. That's great. Thank you so much. And Calgary is a bit of a strange city. In some ways, it's an old western town. And in other ways, it's a rather modern and shiny metropolis. Just finished breakfast, catching up on my tweeting, reading all the comments from all my followers, which are great. Lots of good recommendations for Calgary, and getting ready to head out and explore the city. So today I'm touring the Glenbow Museum in downtown Calgary, which is packed full of the history of Alberta. But for me, it isn't just what's on display that's interesting, but the stuff that isn't on display. Here, I'm opening it this way. Is that okay? Check this out. Look at this. Armor. Really? You have Queen Victoria's underpants?
Those are Queen Victoria's undergarments right there.
That's like a 50-inch waist. I'm in awe. I'm standing next to Queen Victoria's underwear. And these aren't petticoats. These are actually underwear that the Royal Highness Queen Victoria wore. These were a gift to the Glenbow Museum. And this is quite meaningful because her daughter, Princess Louise Caroline Alberta, is what the province of Alberta is named for. So I think it's very meaningful that Queen Victoria's underwear is here. I happened to arrive in Calgary right after some very serious floods.
We were closed for 52 days.
Wow.
Yeah, but all things considered, it's amazing.
This restaurant has just opened up after being closed for 52 days after some pretty devastating floods that swept through here. What I love about this restaurant is that everything is local. It's all from around here. They're not just saying that, it's also organic. So we're having red lentil hummus and a whole roasted garlic, which is one of my favorites.
Took a little bit getting everything back, all the prep and stuff, but we're back. Yeah, it's good.
I'm standing inside the Wonderland sculpture by Joam Plenza, a Spanish artist. And what I love here in Calgary, and what's so new, because this just came up a couple months ago, is all of the public art all over Calgary. It's on all of these corners. You can just walk around and see these magnificent sculptures that, they're really cool.
Très bien. Commence à parler anglais, les gens vont répondre. Ils répondent en anglais, puis ils restent
I'm just walking down the street and hear people speaking French. They're Canadian, they're from Quebec, but this is their first time ever coming to Alberta, and they've traveled all the way across the country to see Alberta and to see their whole country for the first time. And they said that, surprisingly, there's a lot of Francophone people still living in Alberta, and they don't speak any English, and they've been able to get by here in Alberta with no English at all, which is amazing. I mean, Canada really is a bilingual country. I'm leaving the city. And that's the reality of my job. I get to go to some really amazing places, but then I also get to leave right after. And this drive that I'm doing right now is just brilliant. You start out on the road, you get bigger and bigger hills, and then the whole horizon in front of me right now is just opening up. Today I'm in Banff National Park, and I'm really excited because we are looking for bears. I'm going to go out with the bear guardians who work here in the park to preserve the bear habitat and to really make sure that the human-bear interaction is a positive experience. So we're going out, and we're looking for bears, and hopefully we'll get to see one today.
We do a lot of monitoring of traffic jams that arise when people actually watch bears roadside. So we're monitoring that people give bears enough space and that it's safe for everyone, so bears and people. So you're going to do the C. It's already at C there.
Okay.
Just flick that switch.
There's a lot of bears here that have radio collars, and so we're calling the different frequencies and seeing if we can pick up a signal to see if we can find any of the black bear or grizzly bear that are hanging out in the area. So far, no signal, but I'm determined to find them.
So she's not around.
Are you sure?
I'm sure she's not around.
These are not.
No, that's a buffalo.
That's the darker ones, right? Okay. I'm foraging. Just like a grizzly bear would forage. This is what we've got here.
They're a really critical food source for grizzly bears and black bears at this time of year. So we're in August right now, and grizzly bears and black bears are going to try to start fattening up for the winter.
It starts out real tart, like.
And then there's that seed, right?
And then there's a seed, and then it's kind of gross. Tastes like sesame oil and paint.
How many more of those did you have to eat?
If I was a bear, I'd have to eat 200,000 of these a day to get enough calories to survive. And I've just been foraging, and I've only found 5. So I wouldn't survive if I was a bear. So I came here to find grizzly bears, and I've been looking for them for 2 days and haven't found any at all. But in the process, I've seen the whole of Banff National Park, which is just a marvelous place. And I've seen so much wildlife. It's so accessible here, it's everywhere. This morning I saw 2 wolf cubs, which were adorable. And for me, that was so exciting. And mule deer and an osprey nest with some fledglings in it. So it's very exciting and such a beautiful day. Warm, beautiful skies. And we're sitting here on the edge of the Bow River, which has this beautiful glacial turquoise tint to it. So he's just made a bison pizza. I've never had bison pizza before. It smells delicious, and we're gonna eat it. It has regular sauce, I think, bison, caramelized onions, and then edamame on it.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. That's good. Banff is Canada's original national park, the very first in this country, and I was amazed by the beauty and the size of the mountains here. I was also amazed by the amount of traffic. There are millions of visitors every year who drive through Banff National Park, and the Trans-Canada Highway cuts right through. Fortunately for the wildlife here, they've built these wilderness overpasses, some of the very first in the world, that allow animals to cross safely to the other side. You would have no idea that this is an overpass.
Well, it's grown in really well since these were built in 1996.
Check it out. This is the highway.
This is the Trans-Canada Highway, highway number 1.
So this is a clear-cut wildlife path. The animals have figured it out. They've pushed all the plants aside, and there is a clear path right over the overpass to the other side of the Rockies. Who are the faster species to figure it out?
Things like coyotes and white-tailed deer.
The Wile E. Coyote. They
yes,
know.
Exactly, yeah.
They know how to cross the road. So normally, this is totally off limits to humans. But this is what it feels like to be a wolf. There's this huge, busy highway up above us. And down here, it's totally quiet, nice and cool. A big, safe space for animals to cross under.
Well, I see some bear prints just to the right of us, and they're a little bit hard to read in the mud, but
right here.
you can see them there.
This is big, look at that.
So we're looking at a grizzly track here. You can see it's a bear track, and by the general shape of it, it's very broad, and the toes arced across there, and then the claw prints way out front. We've been really pleased with the success of our overpasses and underpasses. They've been monitored continuously since late 1996, and in that time we've had 140,000 animals recorded crossing over the tops of them or underneath the underpasses.
And I see that the tracks are moving in both directions, so
yes,
it really is
it's two-way
highway.
Two-way street for them, yeah. They come and go quite freely through here. It's great to see these structures being built, that they're effective, that they're working, and that we're continuing to expand that. So every time we build a new one and we start to see use of it, it's always kind of a thrill to see that.
Just like family vacation, you tell everyone you're gonna leave at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it's like 11:30 a.m. and we're just leaving. Because, you know, I don't want to leave Banff, it's nice, but that always happens. And I have no gas, so we're going to stop for gas, and then hit the road.
6, this is a prepaid station. If you're not paying, it's chip Canadian card.
So I just got in a fight with the gas station attendant. I've used that credit card all over the world to buy gas, but apparently you can't buy gas with an American card in Canada. But look how huge Alberta is. It's as long as my arm. That's Alberta. Big, big place. We're in Banff, and we're gonna be coming back around through Canmore, and then right here we're gonna cut down on 22 and slowly make our way around Calgary all the way down the Cowboy Trail down to this area. We're gonna stop, I think, for lunch here in Black Diamond. We can make it, so that's the plan.
Well, that's alright, Mama. That's alright with me. That's alright, Mama. Anyway we'll be. That's alright. That's alright. That's alright now, Mama. Anyway.
So how did you start putting peanut butter on burgers?
Actually seen a television show about 35 years ago on a little place down in Georgia somewhere that made peanut butter burgers, and I always said if I ever get a hamburger place I'm going to try that, and it worked out great. So you want it to have a nice bubbly fluffy head on it like that. Ta-da!
Wow, an ice cream soda, a cherry ice cream soda.
Cherry.
It's beautiful.
Alright now,
It
Mama.
dances in your mouth.
Anyway you do.
It's this amazing summer storm out in the foothills of the Rockies here in southern Alberta. The rain's coming down, the wind is picking up, I love it. This is how the animals survive all winter in Canada because, you know, they have a very short growing season in summer and a very long winter, and so the farmers have to grow a lot of hay and collect a lot of hay to feed all of their animals throughout the winter.
You got to keep that rope open and flat.
So you got to start fast. You just got to go right up.
Yeah, it helps to start a little faster.
Learning how to rope today. Not very good at it yet, but lots of practice.
You can feel your arm. There, perfect. Nothing to it, see?
Lucasia Ranch in southwest Alberta is an actual working ranch. I came here for a taste of the Wild West, where horses roam free, and I got a chance to ride one. Trying to get him nice and clean and happy before we head out on the hills.
Who is this horse?
This is Chico, and he's a paint, and he's beautiful. He's an old ranch horse, and today I'm lucky enough to get to ride him. His coat is so soft. It's like velvet. It's a gorgeous day, big fluffy clouds, huge green hills that go on forever. It's like an ocean of land. And riding horses is the best way to really travel across the landscape. It's so much fun. I'm seeing a lot of Alberta, and this is the part I think most people just skip over. And a lot of people just head to the mountains, and Alberta is a lot more than just the Rocky Mountains. It's the foothills here that lead into the plains, and this is horse country. This is one of the more spectacular landscapes in Alberta. These are the Badlands. We're in Dinosaur Provincial Park. And we're surrounded by these really wild and strange, otherworldly sandstone sculptures, hoodoos that stick straight up out of the ground, these amazing rivulets and cones and canyons, all carved from wind and water into the ground.
Well, that one there is a rib that you were just touching.
This is a rib bone.
Here is a limb bone.
We're in prime dinosaur habitat here. Dinosaurs lived here from 75 to 77 million years ago. This was a coastal plain with lots of rivers that were coming down from the newly formed Rocky Mountains. And back then, the Rocky Mountains were twice as high as the Himalayas are today, so huge mountains. And the rivers carried down all of this sand and sediment and dropped it here, creating these sandstone beds that trap the animal bones, the dinosaurs, and preserve them to this day. And now with erosion, it just carves right through the rock. It exposes a lot of the dinosaur bones. Well, right now we're gently excavating around the jacket of this ceratopsian Centrosaurus?
Yeah.
Radius. Yeah. And so the paleontologists have already come and they've wrapped the top of the bone in plaster to protect it. And then we're going to work around it and free it up a bit so that they can take this out and bring it back to the lab and then very carefully and cautiously remove all of this material. That's how they preserve it. I think a lot of times we go to a museum and we see the dinosaur skeletons all put together and we think people find them that way, but actually dinosaur bones are extremely fragile and it takes a lot of very cautious and meticulous work to remove them from the ground. 1, 2, 3. So this is an Albertosaurus. This is what I've come here for. I've traveled all the way to Alberta to see this specific dinosaur. It looks like a T-Rex, but it's not a T-Rex. It's an ancient ancestor that's vaguely related to the Tyrannosaurus rex, but you can see it's a carnivore. It has big teeth, an aggressive, big animal, and it's called an Albertosaurus because it was first found here in Alberta. When you look at a prehistoric landscape, it's more than just the bones that you're looking at. It's all the other information and bits of organic material that were left behind. We have a lot of prehistoric wood here in the park. What's amazing to me is when you look at it, some of it's been compressed so much that coal has begun to form. And right here, you've got a bit of coal. All of this organic material is what makes Alberta the oil-rich region it is today. Besides oil, Alberta equals agriculture, and today the province exports a vast amount of food to the rest of the world. I've never seen this crop before. It's green, it's pretty, there's whole fields of it. It looks like a kind of bean, a new plant. No idea. Gotta ask and figure out what this is.
Right now, this is canola, and I seeded it in end of April. And right now we're swathing it because it has to lay down and get dry before we pick it up with the combine.
Fertile soil and the promise of land brought waves of immigrants looking to homestead. The largest of these groups were the Ukrainians, who arrived at the turn of the last century. So is your first language was Ukrainian? And when did you start learning English?
When we went to school. Of course. And the most funniest thing, we had a French neighbor, we were kids, and we knew no English, and they knew nothing but French and Ukrainian. And we played together all the time.
And this area was originally settled by the Ukrainians about 100 years ago, and you still have the original 160-acre plots. А це ваша хата?
Так, це моя хата. Моя хата, ми її дуже скоро збудували. 5 днів.
5 днів?
І зробили, так.
When the early immigrants came to Alberta, a lot of the land was uncleared. It was forest like this. So it was a very overwhelming task to actually set up a homestead. And from this, they could measure out their land and begin clearing it and build their homestead. These were the very first homes of the settlers to Alberta. They're so rustic. You would see they would bring their one chest, very ornate chest of belongings from the old country. But everything else they built from hand, the beds, the tables, the peach, the stove that they would cook on. And they would normally arrive in spring so they could build their first home and then they could go out in the gardens and plant a garden and have enough food. А що це?
Це кріп.
Кріп?
Кріп. Знаєте, кріп до всього.
Я знаю.
Добре до борщу.
Це дуже смачно.
Так, дуже гарно пахне.
Just east of Edmonton, Alberta lies the largest Ukrainian settlement outside of Ukraine. Today, 10% of Alberta's population can trace their ancestry to these first Ukrainian settlers. Exploring the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village offered a touching glance into Alberta's past. So what does it mean for you to be here and in these houses and, you know, living the life of your ancestors?
It feels like I'm honoring them, knowing what they went through, struggles, the joys. It just makes it so much more valuable.
О, Іванку, серце моє, нема таких, як ми двоє. О, Іванку, серце моє, нема таких, як ми двоє.
Well, the Ukrainian Shumka dancers were established in 1959. Shumka means whirlwind in Ukrainian. We are the oldest dance group in Alberta, and since that inception, we've traveled all over Canada, all over the world, and recently celebrating 54 years of great dance, and we're taking that across the world to China and Canada.
Українська мова – це моя перша мова, і це моя душа, і мені важливо говорити по-українському, бо це є нитка для мене до моїх предків і до батьківщини. Ой, та йду на дуна, дуна, ой, та йду на дайна, ой, та йду на дуна, дуна, ой, та йду на дайна.
I've arrived in Andrew, Alberta, home of the world's largest mallard duck. Welcome to the village of Andrew. Every single sign is Andrew. It's like they thought of me every time they built anything. The hockey rink, the restaurant, the liquor store, it's all named after me. Every town in Canada, no matter how small, has a hockey rink and they have their own hockey team. And here it's the Andrew Aces. Andrew volunteers are shining stars. Please remember that. All the way over? Like that?
It probably should be.
Over my nose?
No, well,
No?
I think I'm...
Now I'm like a Chinese cyclist. No? Like that. So we're at the factory of Chimo in Edmonton, Alberta, which produces 3 million pierogi, or pirohi in Ukrainian, a day, which is really exciting because who doesn't love pierogi? And we're going to see how they get made. Yummy. Cheesy. This is what the Calgary airport feels like. You're right. It does. Just like the United States, Canada almost lost their bison to overhunting and habitat loss. But thanks to efforts of conservationists, the bison have been brought back, and today, in Elk Island National Park, there's over 1,000 animals that roam free. In fact, Elk Island National Park breeds bison, which they export to help conservation efforts throughout the world.
Almost every plains bison that you'll see in Canada descended from this original herd that was brought here in 1907. And we've played a significant role in the recovery of the bison as a species nationally and internationally.
We get them through the runs and shoots and eventually into the squeeze, and we test them for disease, and then we put them in these pens for quarantine.
This is where the bison come through. It's a channel that gets narrower and narrower, and we're going to keep on walking into the squeeze. Whoa! So I've been to squeeze, I've been to buffalo squeeze, and it's wonderful. It's very tight. This is how they keep the animals still so they can do disease testing, so they can work with them, and this is how you deal with very, very large animals. You squeeze them. And people, my Twitter followers are warning me, please don't get gored. Actually, they didn't say please, they said don't get gored. It's a good tip from afar. So we will start goat, brie de meaux, le douanier, comté, fourme d'Ambert. All right. So I totally scored. I was looking for a place for dinner. We stepped into the cavern. 100 different kinds of cheese, Patsy Cline on the radio, and redheaded server. Score. Edmonton is the capital of Alberta, but what's interesting is it started out as a Native American settlement, which became a French fur trading outpost, which became a British military fort, which became the capital of this province. I think that Alberta is going through a very exciting moment right now. It's a bit like the Old West, because all kinds of people are traveling here with dreams and with vision, and there's a lot of opportunity here. And that opportunity is inviting people to come and to start something new.
Мені подобається Канада, тому що тут дуже гарні люди.
Anybody that wants to see the outdoors and wants to see nature in its fullest, Alberta is full of it. If they want to come here and really get a feel of what it's like to be in the outdoors and see some beautiful country, Alberta's the place to come.